So we're into week 4, and I'll just start off by saying that always I love the meditation prior to this, and it always brings up things that seem to be so much in line with what's going on and the creative process. Like some of the things that Marjorie just spoke about, like even Marianne Williamson, and of course what's going on in the world today. There's so much going on. And I was at a group yesterday, and Marianne Williamson was brought up about the state of the world today and all the fear and anxiety. And she said something along the lines about still having hope. And it's so interesting that Marjorie talked about those things as well, and also in the grief and the fear, there's also hope. There's also, things can happen, and what can we do about it? And I think that that's why I actually love the creative process, because it does get me into a way of thinking about it from what can I do, what can I create? And even last week when we talked, when we ended, we were talking about the project being for yourself, for others, and for also the universe. And the universe seems like such a big thing. I think it was Gloria who was talking about it. It's such a big concept to be doing a creative process that actually affects the universe. And I think it was Dr. Maya, you said last week about vision boards. And I did ask a friend of mine if I could share a vision board. I don't know if anybody here has heard about the path. It's a way of visualizing things. And I did a path for my friend. It's like a sort of an elaborate goal setting. And you have a graphic artist and you have a facilitator, and you look at goals. So I was going to, first of all, just so everybody could get an idea of a very elaborate vision board, but it's really beautiful. And I wanted to share her path, and she said, yes, I could do it. And I'll just walk you through, because we're still in week 3. Even though we're going to week 4, we're still in the midst of week 3. So that's really good. So I'm going to share her. Oh, someone else is sharing. Do you have to share?
Yes. Right. Yeah, I get you to be, just a moment, please. I'll make you co-host.
Okay. And this was done in 2011. So I sent her pictures. And
You're co-host now, Debbie.
Okay. I said, do you mind if I share your path? And she said, just up. Do you want to continue? I guess I can do that. Is that right? I don't know. Okay, hang on. Here it is. Okay. Can you guys see this?
Not yet.
Share. Okay. No.
There we are.
Okay, that's that one, but that's the Marvin's tape. Okay, now we have Holly's. Okay. Can you see that?
Can you make it larger, Debbie?
Yes. 20%. I can make it try. Oh, that's pretty
Very good. Very good.
Okay, let me just make it a little smaller. Okay. It looks very odd to me, but all right. Because it's all wonky with my background. Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll just tell you how this works. Oh, good. I can move it around. So this is it's called the Path, and it is a vision board. And it was myself and my colleague, Melanie, did this for our friend Holly. And what you do is you say and this is where you could use it for the creative process when we look at prosperity, health, and relationships. And you ask this person to look at where their life is right now. And then you ask them to say, okay, in 6 months to a year, what would you like your life to look like? What would you like to accomplish? And as the person is talking, you're drawing it. You're drawing what they're saying. And so it becomes a really powerful tool because you're able to see that somebody is graphically recording what you're talking about. So for Holly, she was going through a lot in her life. She wanted to keep her little yellow house. She was going through a divorce and she was very stressed out about losing her home. Her son's name is Oscar, so her name is Holly, and she was looking to adopt a little girl. So this was her happy times with her adopted little girl and her son, and this is their little dog. And because she was basically going through a divorce, she wanted to be happy and single. This was okay. She was worried about money, so she was looking at RSPs and she was looking at not having enough money and also looking at a new business. And then there was travel. She loves to travel. So all of this was about travel, seeing different places, a lot of nature, because she lived in Victoria, British Columbia, which is a lot of nature. She likes to entertain a lot, so she wanted to, continue with things like this. So this was part of it. This was part of and it can be as simple as this. It's basically, like we said last week, was to start using your hands, doing something artistic. That's one part of it. Just get rid of this one. The other part of it, no, not that one. You need quite a big space to do this. I'll get this bigger as well. Okay. Whoops. Too big. So this was the other part of it, where when the facilitator would come in, they would actually get really concrete. And I thought this would be a great thing for Marvin's creative process or the actual creative process, because when we were talking about the thinking and the feeling and the visualizing, that's sort of the graphic part of it, the pictures. But this is sort of the concrete part of it, the thinking part of it. And so what you then do in this particular vision board is you break it down into real tangible steps. So right here, like, first of all, who are the people that you're going to get involved to support you? What are the strengths that you have within yourself to help you get there? And then you break it down into what you can do right away in first steps, 1 to 3 months, 6 months, and then what is the ultimate goal. And this process, which involved 3 of us, takes about 3 hours. And it was originally started with children or teens who had developmental disabilities. And they would get a whole group of people together to create this path. And it was called something Progressive Alternatives for Tomorrow, something like that. It was with hope. And it was really to empower people who had, developmental disabilities to envision their future and what they could actually do. So it was quite a beautiful celebration. So we did it in the work that I was doing because it was with women who were fleeing from domestic violence, and they were often very they had been through a lot and there was a lot of devastation and they didn't know where to begin. So this was a lovely sort of ceremony that we would do, and this was one that I did with my friend Holly. So that's a very elaborate visioning board that I wanted to show you. Okay. So I was wanting I can stop sharing this now. Stop share. Okay, I'm back. All right. So before I get into Marvin, did anybody have any questions or anything that they wanted to share about this past week? Yes.
Debbie, do you have any recommendation where we could break into subgroups or breakout groups, maybe in the future, to help maybe somebody here in this class is interested in having one or two other people to do this with them. Because I don't want to just go into the theory of it all without making space for the actual work, and maybe having a partner, having somebody who would be willing to do that, and it can be done on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
To do a modified vision board. We call it, I think we called it treasure mapping.
Yes.
You could maybe trim it down what that 3-hour thing is into maybe something smaller, and then have people team up with somebody in our group and say, would you, make one with me or participate in one? That was my thought, is to, how can we bring it into, if this would be a workshop, we would have now time to team up and do one physically, right? Or to do it. And I don't want to, yeah, I'm one of these kind of people who, if I'm teamed up with somebody else, I more likely do it than if I'm by myself, busy in my life. So that's just a suggestion.
Yeah. And I think that those things are really great to do with a partner. The example of the path is one way. I haven't done a vision board this year, but this year I'm going to do a mosaic. So I think that one of the things that Marvin talked a lot about was whatever you choose to do. It can be, I think we talked last week about taking pictures, um, doing something with your hands, really getting into the feeling and the emotion, because last week was about the feeling side of it, whereas the week before was about the thinking. But that is a wonderful idea, Dr. Maya, is to, if you have a partner, and to actually pick a particular type of visioning that you would like to do and do it together, because that makes it fun. And it also makes it more real, more tangible about what you're working on.
Can I say something?
Sure.
It's Wilma. And what that brought to my mind was the mastermind principle. For us who don't like to look for pictures to cut out, for those of us who believe in having a prayer partner, I remember years ago at Unity, a group of ladies and myself worked on the mastermind principle. And it really worked for all of us, where just what you want or what was going on in your life that you needed prayer support, we would come together once a week. And I'm sure you know the mastermind principle works. And so I'm wondering if when we break out into groups, if it allows us to do it the way it has worked for us over the years. I did treasure mapping years ago, and I don't feel to want to do it anymore in that way. Look for pictures and things like that, especially how I'm not at home where I have all the magazines and the books. But certainly having a prayer partner with whom you can share your really deep concerns and know that that person has your confidence and would say for you, as the mastermind principle says, what you may be having a hard time seeing for yourself at that time.
Yeah, right.
That's really good.
Thank you. Well, I know we're running into our time issue, so Debbie, take charge here. So
Okay, so what I
like,
will
would you
do,
like people to maybe choose right now, somebody?
what's that?
Would you like people to maybe choose a partner, or how do you want to facilitate? It doesn't have to be here now, but you know, if I say, Pauline, will you be my partner in making a vision board, a mini vision board, you know, and maybe she says yes, no, we can then team up in the next few days. Or do you, I leave it up to you, Debbie.
Yeah, what I can do is I can put that forward in an email afterwards. If people want to pair up with somebody else, because we only have a half an hour here. And I want to make sure that I cover the material for week 4. And I think that those are great ideas. To find a partner, and then as well, I think the other part of it that would be so good too is then you can sort of bring back what you find working with a partner back to the group and share that if you want, and that can make it much more enriching as well. But what I'll do, I'm going to jump right into week 4 so you have the material, and I will email you all this information. So week 4, which is day 4, is the sun and the moon. It's God created the sun and the moon. This week, the process moves from involution to evolution. So now we're into the doing. The 4th step is the development of the 2 great lights, the will and the understanding, or the sun, the spiritual I am, and the moon, the intellect. And that's from Paul Hasselbeck. The affirmation for the week is I know what to do and I do it. The only way to experience the light is to experience the darkness. Jesus said on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? And it's interesting because the pieces that I got from Marvin this week, he talks about in week 1, we did Let There Be Light. And we're almost coming back to that same concept again, except it's in the evolution stage. So I have this geared up to listen to him. Here we go. And I have 2 parts.
Ones that are homophobia.
Whoops. Okay.
Going back to Aristotle, the classic example, and it doesn't take a minute to tell, is this. Aristotle, way back ancient Greeks, pre-Christ, says there are 4 causes to every manifestation. He called them the material cause, the moving cause, the formal cause, and the final cause. In psychological terms, in our time, we call them according to the 4 functions of consciousness: sensation, feeling, thinking, and intuition.
Hello.
In other words, there are 4 levels of cause if there's going to be a manifestation. Or metaphysically, the terms we use are the physical cause, the emotional cause, the mental cause, and the spiritual cause. Now, let me give you some examples of that. We begin with the classic example from Aristotle, where he says, take the example of a wooden chair. You've all heard this 100 times, I'm sure. The wooden chair, what causes it? The first cause is the material cause, and that's wood. Wood causes it. The second cause is the moving cause, or the emotional cause, we would call it. And that's the person who made the chair, the carpenter, the craftsman, the person who actually did it, who made the wood into the functional chair. But that's not all. There's going to be a third. And these, as you see, go deeper and deeper and deeper from the material level to the spiritual level. Now, your assignment this week is going to try to figure out in your project what the 4 causes are and what the 4 obstacles might be in that case, and do something in each one of those cases. See, that's why this is an important example. This is just a framework for you to think in and to try to cast your project. That's all. So there's the material cause, there's the moving cause. Then he says there's the formal cause, which we would call the mental cause, which is the plan of the chair, the design of the chair in the mind of the craftsman. And of course, this is just 3rd grade, material. It's not deep at all, but most people don't want to think this far. They want to go to one thing, see? And then he says, even beyond that, that's not enough. If there were not a final cause, what we would call a spiritual cause, or in use of intuition, if there were not a final cause, none of these other three would ever have been entered into or invoked. And so he said the final cause of a chair is the human being's need to sit down a while. It's that simple. See, this is really, really kindergarten metaphysics, okay? But it is very profound if you will apply it to the issues of your life. So now, even though I'm over time, I'm going to take just another few minutes to talk this morning about this. So if you need to leave, go ahead and leave. But I won't take long, another 5 minutes or so, because I want to talk now about some examples in specific areas. For example, let's say healing, okay? What's the material cause or the physical cause of disease? This is, of course, what everybody wants to get down to one thing. Okay, smoking causes cancer, this or that carcinogenic substance, this, that, the other thing, the material cause. This is why nobody agrees on anything, okay, in scientific realms about disease. The material cause, yes, it can be one of those things as a catalyst. But if it doesn't have a cause on all the other levels, that disease is never going to manifest. So if you have a disease, cancer, AIDS, anything like that, this degenerating disease, a downward life-threatening cycle, you can be sure that it is manifest. It has come through all four of these stages of cause. So let me just give you some examples of what that might be. Yeah, there's a material cause, and we're all familiar with material causes of diseases and the various theories about that. But there would also be a moving cause or an emotional cause that has to do with your feeling nature, that has to do with your feelings about yourself, or that has to do with negative emotions, fear, anger, resistance, and things like that. There's a formal cause or a mental cause, which has to do with lack of understanding about what you are and what your body is. See? And then there's a final cause, and in the realm of healing, I can only say that that final cause is something like the cause of disease on the final or spiritual level is it's a wake-up call. That's what it is. The wake-up call to get your attention about something in your life that probably needs to change, that definitely needs to change. Now, if you get all four of these things working, it's going to manifest as some kind of a disease. So how do you heal that? Well, you go through each one of these stages. You go to that level where the wake-up call is on the spiritual level. Remember from last week, diseases and problems cannot be healed on the level where they exist. So you go all the way to the bottom and you say, I need to find a will to live, a reason to live. Basically get my switch turned on in order to, heal this thing. And then you go through your mental assumptions, your beliefs about disease and healing and all those other things, the things that basically unity was founded on, Myrtle Fillmore's practical insights about healing and all that stuff we've talked about before. And then you go through the emotional part and you do a fearless inventory of your emotional habits and the things that you don't like to admit about yourself and all that sort of thing emotionally. And then eventually you might want to make some changes in the material plane on the physical level too. Do something about it, see? Now, again, this is all very personal work. You have to do it yourself because anybody else's suggestions are going to be misleading, okay? You have to do the work. Let me quickly run through the money thing.
Okay.
Well, this is so good. Is there more? Okay.
I want to jump because we only have a few minutes left. I want to jump to the practical application of what he talks about, how to apply some of this. I thought that was a great segment because he talked about so many things that lead up to it. He goes on for about an hour and 15 minutes, how he describes each of these weeks. And so to find a good snippet, I just love that one, how he goes through the 4 causes. But then in the next little snippet that is about 4 minutes, and then we're out of time, he goes into the practical applications of this week. So I want to play that.
Which has to do with God. And put it in the emotional causes. something like that. The in-between ones, you know more about that than I do, folks. We all know our own lives much better than anybody else, and you know the mental and the emotional causes of your relationships, and you see them every day in your life, in your family, in your workplace, in your employment, and in the streets, and on the buses, and with the taxi drivers and the waiters, and everybody else that you encounter in everyday life. Life is a parable of emotions, okay? Of a reflection of emotions, okay? So your assignment this week then is do something in each one of these categories. That's all. Just do something in each one of these categories. Take the 3 practical categories and the 4 causes that we've now talked about and go through it in your mind and put it on paper and try to figure it out. This is a mystery that needs to be solved by you. Look for clues this week to solve this mystery. We'll go into some more details next week in week 5 as we refine this process. But for this week, get it started. That means do something. Pick up the phone, call somebody, do some research, do something, go someplace, do things. Let's take a moment as we close then. What we're looking for here, what needs to be changed this week in my life? This is the week to change something. What is the key to synergy in all of these areas? What one thing can I come up with? And this would be the ultimate assignment. What one thing can I change that changes everything else? The key to this is the same as the key to step 1, which has to do with guidance. You can invoke guidance by affirming guidance. Let there be light in week 1. The same thing is true about will. You can invoke guidance and will by affirming them. The affirmation this week is simple. I know what to do and I do it. I know what to do and I do it. And just as in week 1, where we're just affirming light, this week we're affirming guidance and will. And so I suggest the same thing I suggested in week 1. Take this affirmation, use it as a mantra all week. Every time you're tempted to say, I don't know what to do, instead affirm 10 times. I know what to do, and I do it. Simplest metaphysical skill of all, you can know by affirming that you know, see? But people forget to do that. So let's make our goal 10,000 times again this week. Each one of us, 10,000 times, I know what to do and I do it. Together, I know what to do and I do it. Thank you, God, for the strength and the endurance and the interest to follow through on this great mystery of the will. Through these means do we grow.
Okay. So that's week 4. Like I said earlier too, it's great because we're doing this on Wednesday, but we're still in week 3, but that's to give you some information on how to still go through week 3 until Sunday, and then you have the information for week 4 as to what's coming up after that. So just to answer your question, Dr. Maya, I know that Gloria had some of his tapes. So this is week 4 of the creative process.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And you don't have it?
I do have my copy, but it's very choppy and it's I wouldn't want to put it on YouTube.
Is it a cassette or a link?
I transferred some of my cassettes to MP4.
Right. And it's not available. You don't feel like you want to link.
I don't want to put it on YouTube. No, I don't want to put it on YouTube. No, there are some things that I don't want to share on YouTube that it's 25 years old, but I don't want to get into that. If you want to talk about that offline, I don't mind talking about it offline. So I have to run in about 5 minutes, but I'm wondering, does anybody have any questions or comments they'd like to make?
I have some good news. I just talked to Rosemary.
Oh, good.
I talked to Nancy. and the surgery went well,
Yeah.
and removed whatever organ that was giving her a lot of problems, but there is no obvious cancer. So they are still doing, of course, pathology, but there's no, from this moment. I just wanted to let you know that Nancy said we are full of joy and gratitude for all the prayers from the community.
That's wonderful news. That's wonderful news. Yay. Wonderful. Dr. Mai, do you know how long she's going to be in hospital?
You remember, I don't ask questions like that in a situation. I didn't ask, no.
Oh,
I just got the call. Nancy was on. I asked if I could get an update, and Nancy called me directly on my iPhone, and she was right there in the hospital. But anything is, 2-3 days, she'll be home.
oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay.
So
Well,
anyway, continue to beam light to her, and as Debbie is teaching us, all the thoughts of bad news and cancer and all that, just let it float out of your consciousness when you think of her. Just let it be gone, let it be gone, let it be gone. And send light. She was so Nancy, her partner, was so grateful that I could say, I am just returning to the class now that Rosemary actually is part of, and I will bring the good news. Yeah, okay.
wonderful, wonderful. Well, I will send out the email. I have another call in about 10 minutes, so I have to run. But thank you, everybody, for coming, and we will continue week 5. So we're getting close now, next week. So have a wonderful day, and that's wonderful news about Reverend Rosemary.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Debbie.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
See everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye,
Bye.
ladies. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.